A will isn't just about money. It's a final story a parent tells about their children. And right now, my sister is trying to rush to the last page. She is medically neglecting our dying mother, and I'm the only one who knows. In my left hand, I hold a mobile phone. On the screen is a number for our estranged brother, a brilliant doctor who escaped this family years ago. One call to him would save our mother's life. He has the knowledge to prove the neglect and the power to stop it. In my right hand, I hold my car keys. I could get in, drive away, and pretend I don't know anything. I could protect my brother's peace, the peace he fought so hard to find after this family broke him. The truth that saves my mother's life, or the silence that saves my brother's soul. My finger is hovering over the call button. My sister, Caroline, moves through our mother's house like a ghost of concern. She fluffs pillows, speaks in hushed, reverent tones, and manages everything. To the outside world, she is the perfect, devoted daughter. But I see the details. The way her eyes dart to the silver cabinet, not with concern, but with appraisal. The way she handles mother's prescriptions, not with care, but with an impatience that borders on contempt. This isn't devotion, it's a siege, and she is simply waiting for the fortress to fall. The pattern began the moment mother's diagnosis became terminal. Caroline insisted on moving in to manage her care, she said. What she meant was to manage the assets. 2 months ago, my mother's antique silver tea set, on one she'd promised me since I was a girl, vanished. Caroline feigned a frantic search. It must have been misplaced by the home care nurse. She cried, her voice a perfect performance of distress. A week later, I found it listed on an online auction site, posted by a seller whose other items included several pieces of jewelry I recognized as Caroline's. She was liquidating our family history before our mother had even passed. Then came the fight over the hospice care. Caroline discovered a private in-home service that was absolutely essential for our mother's comfort. The cost was astronomical. She cornered me in the kitchen, her eyes wet with crocodile tears. "We can't put a price on mother's final days, can we?" she whispered. I was the one who liquidated my own savings to cover the initial exorbitant fees. Last week, I called the service directly to ask a question about the schedule. The administrator seemed confused. "But ma'am, you're on our standard palliative care plan. The cost is fully covered by your mother's insurance." The essential private service was a lie. Caroline had been funneling my money, meant for her dying mother, directly into her own accounts. It's not just greed, it's a theft of love, laundered through a veil of manufactured compassion. That alone justifies exposing her. That alone makes the path of ruin seem like justice. But the ruin would not just be hers. It would be my brother's too. Because dragging Thomas back into this world is a unique form of cruelty. The reason he is an estranged doctor, the reason he lives a quiet, solitary life 3 states away, is because of Caroline. Years ago, our father left Thomas in charge of the small family business while he underwent heart surgery. Thomas, ever meticulous, uncovered discrepancies. He found a shadow ledger showing that Caroline had been systematically siphoning funds for years to support a lifestyle far beyond her means. He did what he thought was right. He presented the evidence to our parents. Caroline did not confess. She counterattacked. She didn't just deny it, she inverted the narrative completely. She painted Thomas as unstable, resentful of her success as the one trying to seize control of the family finances. She produced forged emails, tearfully told stories of his erratic behavior, and manipulated our mother into believing her firstborn son was a threat. My parents, wanting to believe the simpler, less painful story, chose to believe her. They sided with the daughter who smiled over the son who told a difficult truth. They didn't just disbelieve Thomas, they disowned him. The accusation shattered him. He had a breakdown, left his residency, and walked away from the family that had branded him a liar for telling the truth. The only reason I have this proof now is because as he was leaving, he handed me a single USB drive. He said, just in case you ever need to see. He made me promise never to contact him unless it was a matter of life or death. He found his peace by amputating us from his life. And now I hold the phone, ready to drag him back to the scene of his own execution. The sister who broke him is the same one now threatening our mother. And the brother he once tried to save is the only one who can now save him in turn. Justice for one crime requires reopening the wounds of another, and I don't know if any of us can survive it. The logical choice is to save my mother, to expose the lie. But my heart gets stuck on Thomas. Not the man he is now, guarded, isolated, a ghost in his own life, but the young man who decided to become a doctor. It happened the year after our father's first major heart attack. The fear in our house was a living thing, a cold fog in every room. David reacted by becoming more driven, more focused on building a financial fortress, as if money could somehow keep death at bay. But Thomas reacted differently. I found him one night in the old study, surrounded by my father's medical textbooks, so engrossed he didn't hear me come in. He wasn't just reading, he was deciphering, wrestling with the language of mortality as if it were a code he could crack. I asked him what he was doing. He looked up at me, and his eyes had a fire in them I'd never seen before. I'm never going to let our family feel this helpless again, he said. I'm going to understand this. I'm going to learn how to fight back. He didn't just choose a career. He declared war on the very thing that threatened us. For the next 10 years, that was his entire life. While David was climbing the corporate ladder, Thomas was in the trenches of human suffering, driven not by ambition, but by a promise he made to himself in a dimly lit study. To bring him back now, to force him to face the one person who broke that promise, it feels like asking a soldier who barely survived the war to go back and stand guard at his traitorous general's court-martial. His peace was paid for at such a high price. How can I be the one to steal it back? And what of Caroline? It would be so much easier if I could remember her as only a villain. But memory is a stubborn, complicated thing. There are layers you cannot simply peel away. I remember being 8 years old, sick with the fever so high the patterns on the wallpaper seemed to move. My parents were frantic, whispering in the hallway, calling the doctor. But I just felt small and afraid. It was Caroline, only 11 herself, who climbed into my bed. She pulled the heavy quilt up to my chin and opened the book of fairy tales, her finger tracing the words as she read. Her voice was a low, steady murmur against the storm of my fever. She didn't leave my side for 2 days. When I woke in the middle of the night, delirious and crying, she was there, dabbing my forehead with a cool cloth. "It's all right," she'd whisper. "I'm right here. You're not alone." She wasn't just my sister. She was my guardian. I look at the woman she has become, cold, atrocious, cruel, and I can't reconcile her with the girl who read me stories in the dark. That girl is still in there somewhere, buried under years of resentment and perceived slights. And I have to ask myself, do I owe that little girl anything? Do I owe it to the memory of that fierce, protective sister to show a mercy that her future self so clearly does not deserve? The question is in agony. It's the conflict between the woman she became and the girl she once was. And I'm caught in the middle. So I stand at this crossroads, a matriarch holding the fate of her children in her hands, as mothers so often do, We are supposed to be the keepers of peace, the menders of broken things. But what happens when peace can only be bought with injustice? What happens when mending one child means shattering another? Is my duty to the truth, no matter how destructive, to shine a light on Caroline's darkness and demand a reckoning, even if it burns my brother in the process? Or is my duty to compassion, to shield my broken son from more pain, even if it means allowing my mother's suffering to continue and my sister's crimes to remain in the shadows? This is the impossible algebra of motherhood. You're asked to solve for love, but every variable is a different kind of pain. The love that confronts is not the same as the love that protects. The justice the world demands is rarely the same as the mercy a family needs to survive. The woman I am, the competent, rational woman who has managed businesses and balanced ledgers, knows what is right. But the mother I am, she is paralyzed. Every choice is a betrayal of someone I am sworn to love. Every path leads to a different kind of ruin. If I choose the path of ruin, I make the call to Thomas. The sound of my voice on the other end will be the first tremor of the earthquake to come. I will tell him, clinically, that mother's life is in danger and that he is the only one who can prove it. I will send him the evidence I've gathered, the missed medication logs, the testimony from the home care nurse I've been secretly interviewing, the falsified hospice invoices. The man who ran from his family to save himself will be forced to return to save the mother who didn't believe him. He will come back not as a son, but as a weapon. He will present the findings to the hospital's ethics board. An investigation will be launched. Caroline will be removed as mother's primary caregiver. Her theft, her lies, her profound neglect will all be exposed in the cold, unforgiving light of official proceedings. Thomas will be vindicated. His name, so long tarnished within our family, will be cleared. He will have proven his integrity, but at the cost of his peace. The process will force him to relive every detail of his original trauma. He will have to face Caroline in a conference room to see the same denial, the same venom in her eyes. It may save him professionally, but it may shatter him personally. My mother, in her final days, will be forced to confront the truth that one of her children was slowly letting her die while the other one was cast out. And Caroline? She will be publicly disgraced, branded not just a thief, but a monster. She will lose her inheritance, her standing in the community, and any relationship she ever had with her own brother. The family will be amputated, a clean, brutal cut. Justice will be served, but our family will be a wasteland. If I choose the path of mercy, I hang up this phone. I walk down the hall, and I confront Caroline myself. Not with lawyers and documents, but with the quiet authority of an older sister. I will present her with my findings, not as a threat, but as a boundary. I will tell her that I know, that the neglect stops today. I will take over mother's medical power of attorney. I will manage her PR myself, ensuring she is safe in her final months. Caroline's secret will remain safe, her reputation intact. She will get away with it in the eyes of the world, but she will know that I know. She will live under the weight of my silent judgment. In this version, my mother dies peacefully, never knowing the depth of her daughter's betrayal. She dies believing she is surrounded by love. Is that not a kindness, a final gift? And Thomas, he remains untouched, undisturbed in the quiet life he has built for himself. He will never know how close he came to being dragged back into the fire. He keeps his peace, but he is never exonerated. In the small whispered corners of our family history, he remains the one who was wronged, the one who left. Justice will have been sacrificed for a fragile, compromised peace, and I will live out my days as the sole keeper of a terrible truth. The silent witness to a crime that was never prosecuted. I will have protected everyone, but I will be utterly, completely alone in the knowledge of what it cost. So I stand here in the quiet of my mother's house. In my left hand is the phone, a gateway to destructive truth. In my right hand are the keys to my car, a path to a painful silence. Vindicating one child means reopening the wounds of the other. Protecting one's peace means denying another's justice. The matriarch as the executioner or the matriarch as the keeper of lies. Both feel like a betrayal. Both feel like my duty. Tell me in the comments, which path do I choose? What would you do?